Please marry me. I'm pregnant with your baby. The desperate cry echoes through the grand chamber, freezing every delegate in their tracks. Aaron Cooper, Earth's lead negotiator, feels his stomach drop as he locks eyes with Princess Daphne of the Tok Empire. Her emerald skin glistens under the harsh lights, her forearms trembling as she points one directly at him. The Zeta 9 Peace Conference descends into chaos. Delegates from a dozen species erupt in a cacophony of shouts, clicks, and electromagnetic pulses. Aaron's mind races, flashing back to that fateful night 3 months ago on the Tok homeworld. The diplomatic reception, the shared glances, the forbidden passion that now threatens everything. Ambassador Sarah Chen grabs Aaron's arm, her fingers digging into his flesh. "Conference room, now!" she hisses, dragging him towards a side door. As they move, Aaron catches sight of Emperor Zaxthor, Daphne's father. The Tok leader's face is a mask of barely contained fury, all 6 of his eyes locked onto Aaron. The human delegation bursts into a secure chamber, voices overlapping in panic. "What were you thinking? Do you realize what you've done?" Aaron barely hears them, his thoughts consumed by Daphne's words. Pregnant, his child. Impossible. A holographic display flickers to life, showing a medical scan of Daphne's body. There, nestled within her alien physiology, is an unmistakable hybrid fetus, half human, half Tok. The room falls silent as the implications sink in. "This changes everything," Ambassador Chen mutters, her face ashen. "The Tok military faction will use this as an excuse for war. They've been itching for a fight since we made first contact." As if on cue, the chamber's speakers crackle with an incoming transmission. General Krovak's gruff voice fills the room. "Humans, you have corrupted our royal bloodline. This act of genetic warfare will not stand." Aaron's mind reels. One night of passion, and now the fate of 2 civilizations hangs in the balance. He thinks of Earth, of the billions who depend on these negotiations succeeding. Then he thinks of Daphne, of the child growing within her. His child. The door bursts open, and Emperor Zaxthor storms in, flanked by his personal guard. His voice booms, shaking the very walls. "Cooper, you will answer for this outrage. Will you take responsibility for your actions?" Aaron stands, facing the Emperor. He can feel the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. In this moment, he holds the power to secure peace or plunge galaxies into war. The human delegation watches, breath held, as Aaron opens his mouth to speak. Before he can utter a word, Ambassador Chen steps forward. "Your Imperial Majesty, we propose an immediate recess to discuss this development. Surely we can find a diplomatic solution that benefits all parties." Emperor Zaxthor's multiple eyes narrow. "You have 1 solar rotation, then I expect an answer." He turns to Aaron, voice lowering to a dangerous growl. "Marry my daughter and secure peace between our peoples, or face the consequences of your actions. The choice is yours, human." As the Tok delegation exits, Aaron slumps into a chair. The fate of interstellar peace now rests squarely on his shoulders. Marry an alien princess he barely knows, or risk a war that could devastate both civilizations. As the human diplomats argue around him, Aaron closes his eyes, the weight of 2 worlds pressing down upon him. As the Tok delegation exited, leaving behind a trail of tension thick enough to cut with a knife, Aaron Cooper found himself at the epicenter of a diplomatic earthquake. The human delegation erupted into a flurry of activity, voices overlapping in a cacophony of panic and strategic planning. Ambassador Sarah Chen, her face a mask of professionalism barely concealing the turmoil beneath, stepped forward. "We need to buy time," she announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm calling for an immediate recess of the peace talks. We need to regroup and formulate a strategy." As Chen made the necessary arrangements, Aaron felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see Dr. Alara Vex, the ship's medical officer, standing beside him. "Mr. Cooper, we need to run some tests," she said, her voice low and urgent. "We need to confirm the viability of this situation." Aaron nodded numbly, following Dr. Vex to the ship's medical bay. As he lay on the examination table, Staring at the cold, sterile ceiling, his mind raced. How could this have happened? One night, one moment of weakness, and now the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The medical bay hummed with activity as Dr. Vex and her team conducted a battery of tests. Genetic scans, compatibility analyses, and projections of potential hybrid physiologies flashed across holographic displays. Aaron caught glimpses of complex diagrams and incomprehensible data streams, all centered around the impossible reality growing within Princess Daphne. Hours passed, feeling like mere minutes to Aaron. Finally, Dr. Vex approached him, her face grave. "Mr. Cooper, the results are unprecedented," she began, choosing her words carefully. "The pregnancy is indeed possible, but it comes with significant risks. We're in uncharted territory here." Before Aaron could fully process this information, Ambassador Chen burst into the medical bay. "Cooper, we need you in the conference room." "Now!" Her tone brooked no argument. As they hurried through the corridors, Chen briefed him on the situation. "Emperor Zaxthor is pushing for a political marriage," she explained, her words clipped and precise. "He sees this as an opportunity to strengthen the Tok'Tok's galactic position. But General Krovak is mobilizing his forces, viewing the pregnancy as a threat to their royal bloodline." Aaron's head spun. Marriage? Coup? How had things escalated so quickly? As they entered the conference room, he was met with a sea of tense faces, human and alien alike. Holographic displays flickered with news reports from both Earth and the Tok'Tok homeworld, showing protests and demonstrations on both planets. "The public knows," one of the human diplomats said, gesturing to the displays. "Opinion is divided. Some see this as a beautiful symbol of unity, others as a threat to human genetic heritage." Aaron barely had time to absorb this when Emperor Zaxthor's imposing figure appeared on the main view screen. "Cooper," the Emperor's voice boomed, "have you made your decision? Will you take responsibility and cement our alliance through marriage?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Aaron. He opened his mouth to speak, but Ambassador Chen cut him off. "Your Imperial Majesty," she interjected smoothly, "this is a complex situation that requires careful consideration. We propose extending our recess for further private negotiations between our delegations." Emperor Zaxthor's multiple eyes narrowed, but he nodded slowly. "Very well. You have one planetary rotation. But know this, the future of our peoples hangs in the balance." As the transmission ended, Aaron slumped into a chair. The weight of two worlds pressed down upon him, heavier than ever. He thought of Princess Daphne, of the child growing within her. His child. He thought of Earth, of the billions who depended on these negotiations succeeding. Amidst the continued chaos of the conference room, Aaron's gaze drifted to a small view screen showing the Zeta 9 space station. Beyond it, the vast expanse of space stretched out, dotted with unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there, the future of human Tok'Tok relations was taking shape, with him at its center. A sudden commotion drew his attention back to the room. Dr. Alara Vex had arrived, her arms full of data pads and holographic projectors. "We need to talk about the medical implications," she announced, her voice cutting through the din. "This pregnancy, it's going to require constant monitoring and potentially risky interventions." As Dr. Vex began her presentation, Aaron caught a glimpse of Princess Daphne through a window, surrounded by her own retinue of advisors and guards. Their eyes met for a brief moment, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. In that instant, Aaron realized that whatever decision he made would change the course of not just their lives, but potentially the entire galaxy. The clock was ticking, one planetary rotation to navigate personal desires, professional obligations, and the complex web of interspecies politics. One rotation to decide the fate of two civilizations. As the human delegation huddled around him, strategizing and debating, Aaron took a deep breath. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The tension in the conference room was palpable as Ambassador Chen concluded her call with Emperor Zaxthor. Aaron's mind raced, trying to process the whirlwind of events that had unfolded in the past few hours. The weight of two civilizations' futures pressed down upon him, heavier than ever. As if sensing the overwhelming pressure, Ambassador Chen turned to Aaron. "Cooper, we need to reconvene the peace conference. The situation has evolved." Aaron nodded, his throat dry. As they made their way back to the main chamber, he caught glimpses of the other delegates through the station's viewports. Aliens of various species huddled in tense groups, their body language betraying the unease that had settled over the entire station. The main chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates filed in. Aaron took his seat at the human delegation's table, acutely aware of the eyes upon him. Across the room, Princess Daphne sat with her father, her emerald skin seeming to pulse with an inner light. Emperor Zaxthor rose, his imposing figure commanding immediate silence. "Delegates of the Zeta 9 Peace Conference," he began, his voice reverberating through the chamber. "Recent events have forced us to reconsider the nature of our negotiations." Aaron's heart raced as the Emperor's multiple eyes fixed upon him. "In light of the unique situation between Delegate Cooper and my daughter, Princess Daphne, I propose a formal union between our two species." The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted, clicked, and pulsed their objections and support. Aaron sat frozen, the Emperor's words echoing in his mind. A formal union? Marriage? Ambassador Chen leapt to her feet, her voice cutting through the din. "Your Imperial Majesty, while we appreciate the gesture, such a proposal requires careful consideration. We must ensure that all parties' interests are represented." As Chen spoke, Aaron felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see Dr. Alara Vex standing beside him, her face grave. "Mr. Cooper, we need to discuss the medical implications of this situation immediately," she whispered urgently. Before Aaron could respond, Ambassador Chen turned to him. "Cooper, I'm removing you from your position as lead negotiator," she said, her voice low but firm. "Work with Dr. Vex. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with here." Numbly, Aaron nodded and followed Dr. Vex out of the chamber. As they walked briskly towards the medical bay, he caught sight of a group of Tak soldiers huddled in a corner, their eyes following him with unmistakable hostility. In the sterile confines of the medical bay, Dr. Vex's team swarmed around him, taking samples and running scans. "Mr. Cooper, the fetus is developing at an accelerated rate," Dr. Vex explained, her eyes fixed on a holographic display of Princess Daphne's anatomy. "We need to act quickly to ensure both Daphne and the child's safety." As Aaron absorbed this information, an alert blared through the station's comm system. "Security breach in Sector 7, a robotic voice announced. All delegates are to remain in their current locations." Dr. Vex's eyes widened. Sector 7, that's where Princess Daphne was headed for her medical examination. Without thinking, Aaron bolted from the medical bay. His diplomatic security training kicked in as he navigated the station's winding corridors. He had to reach Daphne. As he rounded a corner, he saw her. Princess Daphne stood in a secluded garden area, her forearms wrapped protectively around her midsection. Their eyes met, and for a moment the chaos around them faded away. "Aaron," Daphne said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry for putting you in this position, but I had to do something to force a peaceful resolution." Before Aaron could respond, a flash of movement caught his eye. Acting on instinct, he tackled Daphne to the ground as a beam of energy sizzled through the air where she had been standing. "Sniper!" Aaron shouted, shielding Daphne with his body as security forces swarmed into the area. The garden erupted into chaos as human and Tak security clashed, each suspecting the other of the attack. In the midst of the firefight, Aaron felt Daphne tense beneath him. He looked down to see her emerald skin glowing with an intensity he'd never seen before. Her eyes met his, filled with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Aaron," she gasped, "something's happening. I feel different." Before he could respond, a group of Tak guards surrounded them, forcibly separating the pair. As they dragged him away, Aaron caught a final glimpse of Daphne being whisked away by her own security detail. The failed assassination attempt sent shockwaves through the station. Emperor Zaxthor's booming voice echoed through the corridors, demanding an immediate investigation. Human and Tak delegates alike found themselves under scrutiny, the fragile trust between species stretching to its breaking point. As the Zeta 9 security forces implemented a station-wide lockdown, Aaron found himself back in the human delegation's quarters, his mind turning from the day's events. The weight of two worlds still pressed down upon him, but now it was joined by a new, more personal concern: the safety of Daphne and their unborn child. In the tense quiet of the lockdown, Aaron couldn't shake the image of Daphne's glowing skin from his mind. Something was changing, evolving, and he had a feeling that whatever came next would alter the course of human and Tok history forever. The chaos following the assassination attempt sent ripples of tension throughout Zeta 9. Within hours, the station's security protocols shifted into overdrive. Aaron found himself whisked away from the familiar corridors and viewports, descending deeper into the heart of the space station. The delegates were ushered into a fortified underground bunker, its stark white walls a stark contrast to the ornate conference chambers above. Human and Tok contingents were swiftly separated, each assigned to their own secured quarters. Aaron, however, was led to a specially designed isolation chamber. Mr. Cooper, a stern-faced security officer explained, "Due to your unique situation, we've prepared this chamber for you. It allows for safe interaction with both species while maintaining the highest level of security." Aaron stepped into the room, taking in the strange hybrid of human and Tok technology. One wall featured a large view screen, currently displaying a feed of the human delegation's quarters. On the opposite side, a shimmering energy field hummed softly, beyond which he could see a similar setup for Tok visitors. As he acclimated to his new surroundings, Aaron's thoughts drifted to Princess Daphne. The image of her glowing skin and the fear in her eyes haunted him. He was jolted from his reverie by the arrival of Dr. Alara Vex. "Mr. Cooper," she said, her voice tinged with urgency, "we've established a medical bay within the bunker. Princess Daphne's condition, it's progressing faster than we anticipated." Aaron followed Dr. Vex through a series of secure corridors to the makeshift medical facility. The room buzzed with activity as Tok and human medical personnel worked side by side, their differences temporarily set aside in the face of this unprecedented medical challenge. Princess Daphne lay on an examination table, her emerald skin pulsing with an otherworldly light. As Aaron approached, her four eyes locked onto his, a mix of fear and wonder evident in their depths. "Aaron," she whispered, reaching out one of her hands. He took it, marveling at the warmth radiating from her skin. Dr. Vex moved efficiently around them, consulting holographic displays and conferring with her team. "The fetus is developing at an accelerated rate," she explained, gesturing to a complex 3D image hovering above Daphne's abdomen. "And that's not all. Princess, your body is producing a new type of hormone we've never seen before. It appears to be responsible for your enhanced abilities." As if on cue, Daphne's skin flared with energy, causing nearby equipment to flicker. Aaron instinctively tightened his grip on her hand, and a jolt of energy passed between them. The fetus, visible on the holographic display, seemed to pulse in response. Dr. Vex's eyes widened. "Fascinating," she murmured, furiously inputting data into her pad. "Mr. Cooper, your proximity seems to trigger reactions in both the princess and the fetus. We need to run more tests, controlled experiments, to understand the full extent of these abilities." As the medical team swarmed around them, Aaron became aware of a commotion outside the medical bay. Ambassador Chen's voice cut through the din, engaged in a heated discussion with someone over a comlink. "We need additional resources immediately," Chen was saying, her tone brooking no argument. "The potential implications of this development are staggering. We need every xenobiologist and geneticist Earth can spare." Aaron caught snippets of the conversation as Chen paced back and forth. Words like diplomatic advantage and scientific breakthrough floated through the air, reminding him of the larger forces at play beyond the confines of the medical bay. Inside, Dr. Vex continued her examination, her face a mask of concentration. "Princess," she said softly, "I'm going to administer a mild stimulant. It should help us get a clearer picture of the changes your body is undergoing." Daphne nodded, her grip on Aaron's hand tightening. As Dr. Vex administered the stimulant, the energy pulsing through Daphne's skin intensified. Aaron felt a strange tingling sensation spreading up his arm from where their hands were joined. Suddenly, the fetus on the holographic display began to move erratically. Alarms blared as energy readings spiked off the charts. Aaron felt a surge of power course through him, emanating from Daphne and the unborn child. The lights in the medical bay flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. Emergency backup systems kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. In the chaos, Aaron heard Dr. Vex shouting orders to her team, trying to stabilize the situation. As the power surge subsided, Aaron looked down at Daphne. Her eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and awe. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. Before Aaron could respond, the door to the medical bay slid open. Emperor Zaxthor burst in, flanked by a contingent of Tok-Tok guards. His multiple eyes darted around the room, taking in the scene before fixing on Aaron and Daphne's joined hands. "What is the meaning of this?" the Emperor demanded, his voice booming in the confined space. "I demand to know what's happening to my daughter." As tensions rose in the crowded medical bay, Aaron became acutely aware of the delicate balance they were all walking. The future of two species, the fate of the peace conference, and the safety of Daphne and their unborn child all hung in the balance. And somewhere in the shadows, unknown to them all, General Krovak's separatist allies were already setting their plan in motion, ready to throw everything into chaos. Chaos. As alarms blared and emergency lighting bathed the room in an eerie red glow, Aaron's instincts kicked into overdrive. He quickly assessed the situation, his diplomatic security training taking hold. "Everyone, stay calm," he commanded, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. "Dr. Vex, what's Daphne's status?" The doctor, already moving with practiced efficiency, called out, "Stable for now, but we need to be prepared for anything. This stress could trigger complications." Aaron nodded, his mind racing. He turned to the small security team that had accompanied the Emperor. "We need to fortify this position. Use whatever you can find, equipment, furniture, anything to create a barrier at the entrance." The guards hesitated, looking to Emperor Zaxthor for confirmation. The Emperor, his multiple eyes darting between Aaron and his daughter, gave a curt nod. Immediately, the team sprang into action, dragging heavy medical cabinets and overturning tables to form a makeshift barricade. Outside, the sounds of conflict grew louder. Distant shouts and the unmistakable whine of energy weapons echoed through the corridors. Aaron's comm unit crackled to life, Ambassador Chen's voice cutting through the static. "Cooper, what's your status? We're evacuating to secure locations. The Separatists—" Her words were cut off by a burst of interference. Aaron gritted his teeth, realizing they were on their own. Suddenly, Princess Daphne let out a gasp, her body arching on the examination table. The holographic display above her abdomen flared with activity, energy readings spiking off the charts. "Aaron," she called out, her voice strained. "Something's happening. The baby—" Dr. Vex rushed to her side, her fingers flying over the control panel. "The fetus is reacting to the stress. These energy readings, I've never seen anything like it." As if in response to the doctor's words, the lights in the medical bay flickered wildly. Aaron watched in amazement as tendrils of energy seemed to dance across Daphne's skin, casting shadows on the walls. A sudden explosion rocked the bunker, much closer this time. The Separatists were getting nearer. Aaron's eyes darted around the room, his mind working furiously. He noticed how the medical equipment near Daphne seemed to pulse in time with the energy surges from the fetus. An idea began to form. "Dr. Vex," he called out, "is there any way we can redirect that energy? Use it as some kind of defense?" The doctor's eyes widened as she caught onto his train of thought. "Theoretically, yes, we could reconfigure the medical scanners to amplify and focus the output. But it's risky. We don't know how it might affect the fetus or Daphne." Another explosion, even closer. They were out of options. "Do it," Aaron ordered, moving to Daphne's side. He took her hand, feeling a jolt of energy pass between them. "I'm here," he reassured her. "We're going to get through this." As Dr. Vex and her team worked feverishly to modify the equipment, Aaron coordinated with the security team, positioning them to defend the entrance. The sounds of fighting grew louder, punctuated by the distinctive whine of Tok-Tok weapons. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light filled the room. The reconfigured scanners hummed to life, channeling the fetus's energy into a shimmering barrier across the entrance to the medical bay. Not a moment too soon, a group of heavily armed separatists rounded the corner, led by a towering Tok with a vicious scar across his face, General Krovac himself. They opened fire, but their energy blast dissipated harmlessly against the barrier. Krovac's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. "Fascinating," he hissed, his voice carrying even over the din of battle. "So the rumors are true. The hybrid child holds more power than we imagined." As the separatists regrouped, preparing for another assault, Aaron noticed something strange. The energy barrier seemed to pulse stronger when he was near Daphne. He positioned himself closer to her, maintaining physical contact, and the barrier visibly strengthened. Dr. Vex noticed too. "Mr. Cooper, your proximity appears to be stabilizing the energy output. Stay close to the princess." Aaron nodded, squeezing Daphne's hand reassuringly. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and wonder. Her skin had taken on an otherworldly glow, pulsing with scarcely controlled energy. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice strained, "I can feel the baby. It's changing, growing stronger." Before he could respond, Daphne's body tensed, a wave of energy surging through her. The medical equipment around them sparked and sputtered. Dr. Vex's face paled as she studied the readouts. The fetus, its development is accelerating exponentially. At this rate, she looked up, meeting Aaron's eyes. "We may be dealing with a birth situation very soon." The implications of her words hit Aaron like a physical blow. They were trapped in a besieged medical bay, under attack by separatist forces, with a hybrid child of unprecedented power about to be born. Outside, General Krovac barked orders to his troops, preparing for a final assault. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and Aaron found himself at the center of it all, holding the hand of the woman he loved as she prepared to give birth to a child that could change the course of history. As the separatists readied their attack, Aaron steeled himself for what was to come. Whatever happened next, he knew that the future of human Tok relations, and possibly the future of both species, would be forever altered by the events unfolding in this small medical bay on Zeta 9, a remote planet in the Zeta 9 system. Suddenly, Daphne's body convulsed, her emerald skin pulsating with an intense glow. She let out a primal scream that pierced through the chaos around them. "It's time," Dr. Vex announced, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. "The baby is coming now." Aaron's heart raced as he watched Dr. Vex swiftly prepare for an emergency delivery. He stood frozen for a moment, torn between his duty to protect and his desire to be by Daphne's side. "Stay with her," Dr. Vex commanded, sensing his hesitation. "Your presence stabilizes the energy barrier. We need that protection now more than ever." Nodding, Aaron gripped Daphne's hand tighter, feeling the surge of energy between them intensify. The barrier at the entrance shimmered with renewed strength, holding back the relentless assault of General Krovac's forces. As Daphne's labor progressed, the entire bunker began to shake. Equipment rattled, and loose objects clattered to the floor. The fetus's power was growing exponentially, causing havoc throughout the facility. Outside the medical bay, communications sputtered and died. The Separatists' coordinated attack faltered as their comm links failed, but General Krovac pressed on, sensing victory was close at hand. Inside, Dr. Vex worked with practiced efficiency, her focus unwavering despite the chaos. "Push, princess," she urged. "You're doing great." Daphne's cries of pain mingled with the sounds of battle outside. Aaron felt helpless, able only to offer words of encouragement and his stabilizing presence. Suddenly, a massive energy surge rocked the medical bay. The barrier at the entrance flickered dangerously. "We're losing the shield," one of the security team members shouted. Aaron made a split-second decision. "I have to help them," he told Daphne, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll be right back." Before she could respond, he sprinted to join the security team at the entrance. The moment he left Daphne's side, the energy barrier weakened visibly. General Krovac, seizing the opportunity, ordered his forces forward. "Breach the defenses. Secure the hybrid child at all costs." The Separatists poured through the weakened barrier, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat with the security team. Aaron found himself grappling with a Tok-Tok soldier, using every ounce of his training to hold his ground. As the battle raged, Daphne's labor intensified. Her screams reached a fever pitch, drowning out even the sounds of combat. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted from her body, followed by an intense electromagnetic pulse. Every electronic device in the vicinity went dead. The Separatist energy weapons fizzled out, leaving them momentarily stunned. The medical equipment surrounding Daphne sparked and died, plunging the room into darkness. Dr. Vex, undeterred by the loss of technology, relied on her years of experience and basic medical training. "Keep pushing, princess," she encouraged. "The baby is almost here." In the dim emergency lighting, Aaron caught glimpses of the battle around him as he fought off attackers. He could hear Daphne's labored breathing and Dr. Vex's calm instructions, spurring him to fight harder. Just as it seemed the Separatists might overwhelm them, a piercing cry cut through the chaos. It was followed by a burst of energy so powerful it knocked everyone off their feet. Aaron scrambled to his feet, his eyes searching for Daphne. Through the settling dust, he saw her cradling a small, glowing form in her arms. The hybrid child had been born. The infant's first cry had released a massive energy surge, incapacitating the attacking Separatists and restoring power to the entire bunker. The sudden return of light revealed the aftermath of the battle, stunned soldiers from both sides struggling to comprehend what had just happened. Aaron rushed to Daphne's side, his heart pounding. As he approached, he saw their child for the first time, a perfect blend of human and Tok-Tok features, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. The baby's eyes, a kaleidoscope of shifting colors, gazed up at them with an impossible awareness. "Aaron," Daphne whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Look at our child." He reached out tentatively, and as his finger brushed the infant's skin, he felt a jolt of energy, not shocking or painful, but warm and connective. A visible tendril of energy formed between the three of them, pulsing with life and potential. Dr. Vex, recovering from her initial shock, began running scans on the newborn. "Incredible," she muttered. "The child's DNA is adapting rapidly. I've never seen anything like this." Before Aaron could respond, the door to the medical bay slid open. Ambassador Chen and Emperor Zaxthor entered, flanked by Marcus Reed and several moderate delegates. Their eyes widened as they took in the scene, the aftermath of battle, the incapacitated Separatists, and at the center of it all, the glowing hybrid child. Emperor Zaxthor approached slowly, his multiple eyes fixed on the infant. As he drew near, the child reached out a tiny hand. The moment they touched, a visible ripple of energy passed between them. The Emperor staggered back, his expression one of awe and recognition. "This child," he proclaimed, his voice resonating with newfound conviction, "is the living embodiment of what our two species can achieve together." Ambassador Chen, seizing the moment, stepped forward. "Then let this be a new beginning," she said, "a chance to forge a true alliance between humans and Tok-Tok." As the delegates gathered around, marveling at the hybrid child, Aaron and Daphne shared a private look. They both knew that their lives, and the future of their two species, had changed forever. The challenges ahead were immense, but in this moment, cradling their extraordinary child, they felt a spark of hope for the future. Dr. Vex, her scientific curiosity piqued, began outlining plans for a comprehensive study of the child's unique abilities. "We need to establish a joint research commission immediately," she insisted. "The potential applications for interspecies communication alone are staggering." As the conversations around them grew animated with plans and possibilities, Aaron held Daphne close, their child nestled between them. The energy link connecting the three of them pulsed steadily, a tangible reminder of the new reality they now faced. Outside the medical bay, news of the extraordinary birth spread rapidly through the bunker. The Separatist threat had been neutralized, but the implications of this event were only beginning to unfold. As the human and Tok-Tok fleets maintained their uneasy truce in orbit, the future of both species hung in the balance, forever changed by the arrival of one remarkable child. Child now cradled safely in Daphne's arms. As the initial shock and wonder subsided, The gravity of the situation began to sink in. The medical bay, still bearing the scars of recent battle, buzzed with activity as Dr. Vex and her team worked tirelessly to assess the newborn's condition. "We need to move to a more secure location," Ambassador Chen said, her voice cutting through the commotion. "This facility is compromised, and we can't risk the child's safety." Emperor Zaxthor nodded in agreement, his multiple eyes still fixed on the infant. "I will personally escort the family to our flagship. It's the most defensible position we have in orbit." Aaron looked down at Daphne, who was already showing signs of recovery, thanks to her tac-tac physiology. She met his gaze and gave a slight nod. "We'll go," Aaron announced, "but Dr. Vex comes with us. We need her expertise." Within hours, a small delegation including Aaron, Daphne, their child, Dr. Vex, Ambassador Chen, and Emperor Zaxthor were safely aboard the Tok-Tok flagship. As they settled into their new quarters, Dr. Vex immediately set up a makeshift lab to continue her examinations. "Have you thought of a name?" Dr. Vex asked as she ran a handheld scanner over the infant's glowing form. Daphne and Aaron exchanged a look. "Nova," Daphne said softly. "Her name is Nova." As the days passed, it became clear that Nova was no ordinary child. Her growth was exponential, her development outpacing anything seen in human or Tok-Tok infants. By the end of the first week, Nova had the appearance and cognitive abilities of a human 1-year-old, while demonstrating energy manipulation skills that would be impressive even in Tok-Tok adolescence. "It's remarkable," Dr. Vex marveled, reviewing the latest data. "Her DNA is in a constant state of flux, adapting and evolving at a rate I've never seen before. But this accelerated growth, we need to monitor it closely. There could be long-term implications we can't yet predict." Aaron paced the room, his brow furrowed with concern. "What kind of implications? Is she in any danger?" Dr. Vex shook her head. "Not immediate danger, no. But we need to implement a specialized monitoring program. We have to consider everything from potential health issues to her projected lifespan. This is uncharted territory." As Nova's parents grappled with these concerns, they also found themselves thrust into the spotlight of interstellar diplomacy. News of Nova's birth had spread rapidly, and delegations from both Earth and the Tok-Tok homeworld were arriving daily to witness this unprecedented event. Ambassador Chen, recognizing the potential impact, proposed a series of controlled public appearances. "The people need to see this family," she argued. "They need to understand that coexistence isn't just possible. It's beautiful." And so, despite their reservations, Aaron and Daphne agreed to limited public events. The first of these took place in the flagship's grand atrium, with holographic broadcasts reaching billions on both worlds. As they stepped onto the stage, Nova cradled in Daphne's arms. A hush fell over the assembled crowd. The child's iridescent skin shimmered under the lights, her kaleidoscope eyes wide with curiosity. When Aaron placed a gentle hand on Nova's back, the familiar tendril of energy formed between them, visible to all. The effect was immediate and profound. Gasps of wonder rippled through the audience, followed by a wave of murmuring that grew into excited chatter. Humans and Tok-Tok alike pressed forward, eager for a closer look at this living symbol of unity. But not everyone viewed these developments with optimism. On Earth, Senator Marcus Graves began rallying a faction of human purists against the idea of alliance with the Tok-Tok. "We cannot allow our genetic heritage to be diluted," he proclaimed in fiery speeches. "Hybridization is a threat to human identity and independence." Similar voices of dissent arose on the Tok-Tok homeworld. Traditionalists warned of the potential loss of their species' unique energy manipulation abilities, framing the issue as a matter of cultural preservation. These ideological battles raged as Nova continued to grow and develop. At 1 month old, she displayed an ability that stunned even Dr. Vex, the power to sense and influence the emotions of those around her. It first became apparent during a tense meeting between human and Tok-Tok delegates. As voices were raised and tempers flared, Nova, present with her parents, suddenly emitted a soft glow. The arguing delegates fell silent, their anger dissipating as if a switch had been flipped. "Remarkable," Dr. Vex whispered, furiously taking notes. She's not just sensing their emotions, she's actively fostering empathy and understanding between species. This could revolutionize our approach to diplomacy. Ambassador Chen, always quick to recognize opportunity, seized on this revelation. "We need to think bigger," she announced to the stunned delegates. "Imagine a diplomatic corps of human tok-tok hybrids, trained to facilitate communication and negotiation at the highest levels." The proposal sent shockwaves through both governments. Moderate factions embraced the idea enthusiastically, while conservatives on both sides decried it as a step too far. As the debate raged, an unexpected development arose from an unlikely source. General Krovak, the captured Separatist leader, requested a series of interviews with Nova present. Under heavy security, these meetings took place. The effect on the once hardline general was profound. In Nova's presence, his hostility melted away, replaced by a growing understanding of the potential for coexistence. "I've been wrong," Krovak admitted in his final interview, his voice heavy with emotion. "I see now that our future lies not in separation, but in unity." As Nova's first month of life drew to a close, her growth rate began to stabilize, much to the relief of her parents and Dr. Vex. But just as a sense of normalcy was beginning to take hold, alarms blared throughout the flagship. "Unidentified vessel entering the system," a voice announced over the intercom. "It's bypassed all our security protocols." Aaron and Daphne exchanged worried glances as they held Nova close. Whatever was coming, they knew it would shape not just their family's future, but potentially the fate of two species, and beyond. The future of an entire galaxy. The tension in the air was palpable as Aaron, Daphne, and Nova stood near the entrance of the meeting chamber. The ship's security systems had been completely bypassed, leaving everyone on edge. As the door slid open with a soft hiss, they came face to face with beings unlike any they had encountered before. The newcomers were tall, ethereal creatures with translucent skin that seemed to capture and reflect the very essence of starlight. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, as they glided into the room. The lead figure, its form more defined than the others, stepped forward. "I am Zephyr," it said, its voice resonating with a melodic quality that seemed to vibrate through the air. "We are the Guardians, and we have come for the child." Aaron instinctively moved in front of Daphne and Nova, his posture defensive. "What do you want with our daughter?" Zephyr's gaze, filled with ancient wisdom, focused on Nova. "Your child's birth was foretold in our most sacred prophecies. She represents a crucial step in galactic development, a bridge between species that will shape the future of all sentient beings." Ambassador Chen stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in despite the shock of the situation. "You'll understand our hesitation to simply hand over a child to unknown beings, regardless of your claims." Emperor Zaxthor, his multiple eyes narrowing, added, "We require more information before any decisions can be made." Zephyr nodded, a gesture eerily human-like. "We propose to take Nova to our homeworld for intensive training and study. It is essential for her to fulfill her destiny as a unifying force in the galaxy." The room erupted in protests. Aaron's voice rose above the others. "Absolutely not. We're not separating from our child." Daphne clutched Nova closer, the infant's iridescent skin pulsing with a soft glow in response to the heightened emotions in the room. The Guardians conferred among themselves, their bodies shimmering with patterns of light that seemed to convey complex ideas. After a moment, Zephyr turned back to the group. "We anticipated your concerns," Zephyr said. "We offer a compromise. We propose establishing a joint training facility on the neutral planet Zeta 9. There, Nova can be educated and monitored by representatives from all our species." The suggestion sparked immediate debate. Dr. Vex, her scientific curiosity piqued, saw the potential for unprecedented research opportunities. "This could provide invaluable insights into interspecies development," she mused. Ambassador Chen, ever the strategist, recognized the diplomatic implications. A neutral facility could foster cooperation on a scale we've never seen before. As the discussions intensified, Nova suddenly stirred in Daphne's arms. The child's eyes, swirling with colors, focused intently on the center of the room. A shimmering projection materialized, filling the chamber with vivid, three-dimensional images. The assembled delegates watched in awe as the hologram depicted a peaceful, advanced galaxy. The vision showed humans, Tok, and countless other species coexisting harmoniously, their unique strengths combining to create wonders beyond imagination. As the projection faded, a hushed silence fell over the room. The impact of Nova's display was profound, lending credence to the Guardian's claims about her importance. Ambassador Chen, seizing the moment, stepped into the center of the room. "This vision shows us a future worth striving for," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "I propose we establish an Interspecies Council with representatives from humans, Tok, and the Guardians. This council will oversee Nova's development and work towards realizing the future she's shown us." Emperor Zaxthor, his earlier skepticism softened by Nova's display, nodded in agreement. "The Tok Empire supports this proposal. We must look beyond our individual interest for the greater good of all species." As plans for the council began to take shape, a commotion erupted from the human delegation. Senator Marcus Graves, his face flushed with anger, pushed his way to the front. "This is outrageous. We can't allow aliens to dictate humanity's future. This child is a threat to our very identity." Similar protests arose from the Tok traditionalists, their concerns about cultural dilution and loss of unique abilities adding to the chaos. Nova, still cradled in Daphne's arms, began to glow more intensely. The child's eyes locked onto Senator Graves, and suddenly a visible tendril of energy stretched out, connecting the senator to several others in the room, including a prominent Tok traditionalist. The affected individuals gasped, their eyes widening as they experienced a flood of foreign emotions and perspectives. Senator Graves stumbled, steadying himself against a nearby console. When the connection faded, he looked up at Nova with a mix of awe and uncertainty. I felt their fears, their hopes," Graves said, his voice shaky. "I saw through their eyes. Perhaps I've been too hasty in my judgments." The Tok traditionalist nodded in agreement, her earlier hostility replaced by a thoughtful expression. "There is much we can learn from each other," she admitted. As the tensions in the room eased, Dr. Vex approached Aaron and Daphne, her handheld scanner buzzing with activity. "Nova's abilities continue to evolve at an astonishing rate," she reported. "But there's something else. Her DNA, it's still in flux. I believe she might be able to adapt her genetic structure to incorporate beneficial traits from other species she encounters." This revelation sent a ripple of excitement and concern through the room. The Guardians exchanged meaningful glances, their bodies pulsing with patterns of light. Zephyr stepped forward once more. "This ability further underscores the importance of Nova's proper development. The Interspecies Council will be crucial in guiding her growth and ensuring her gifts are used for the benefit of all." As the meeting drew to a close, the foundations of the Interspecies Council were laid. Zeta 9 was chosen as the site for a massive complex that would serve as both Nova's training facility and a center for interstellar diplomacy. Aaron and Daphne, still processing the whirlwind of events, found themselves appointed as Nova's primary guardians and representatives on the council. As they prepared to depart for Zeta 9, they couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Nova, now cradled in Aaron's arms, gazed up at her parents with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. The child's skin shimmered with a soft, pulsing light, as if in anticipation of the adventures to come. As news of these developments spread across Earth and the Tok homeworld, public opinion began to shift. Many expressed hope for a new era of peace and cooperation, while others voiced concerns about the unknown consequences of such close integration with alien species. The massive starship carrying the newly formed Interspecies Council departed for Zeta 9, leaving behind two worlds on the brink of unprecedented change. As they watched the familiar stars streak by, Aaron and Daphne knew that their journey, and Nova's destiny, was only just beginning. As they watched the familiar stars streak by, Aaron and Daphne knew that their journey and Nova's destiny was only just starting. The next few years passed in a whirlwind of activity as the Interspecies Council established itself on Zeta 9. The planet, once a barren rock, transformed into a bustling hub of interstellar diplomacy and cutting-edge research. At the heart of it all stood the newly constructed complex, a marvel of collaborative engineering that seamlessly blended human, Tok-Tok, and Guardian architectural styles. Nova, now appearing to be the equivalent of a human 5-year-old, sat cross-legged in a specially designed meditation chamber. Her skin shimmered with a soft, iridescent glow as she focused intently on the task at hand. Around her, representatives from all 3 species watched in rapt attention. "Now, Nova," Zephyr's melodic voice guided, "reach out with your mind. Feel the emotions of those around you." Nova's brow furrowed in concentration. Suddenly, the air in the room seemed to vibrate with unseen energy. The observers gasped as waves of empathy washed over them, allowing each to experience the other's emotions and perspectives. Dr. Alara Vex, her eyes wide with excitement, furiously tapped notes into her datapad. "Remarkable," she whispered. "Her ability to foster understanding between species continues to evolve at an unprecedented rate." As the session concluded, Aaron and Daphne waited outside to escort Nova to her next activity. Despite their pride in their daughter's progress, worry lines creased their faces. "Another long day," Daphne sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I sometimes wonder if we're pushing her too hard." Aaron nodded, his expression troubled. "I know what you mean. Between her training sessions and our increased responsibilities with the council, it feels like we barely have time to just be a family." Their conversation was interrupted as Nova bounded out of the chamber, her face lit up with excitement. "Mom, Dad, did you see what I did? I made everyone understand each other." Aaron scooped her up, his worries momentarily forgotten. "We sure did, sweetheart. You were amazing." As they walked through the complex, they passed a group of human and Tok-Tok scientists huddled around a holographic display. The image showed a complex molecular structure rotating slowly in the air. "The Guardian's medical technology is simply astounding," one human scientist marveled. "If we can successfully implement this, we could extend the human lifespan by decades." A Tok-Tok researcher chittered excitedly. "Our people could finally overcome the genetic defects that have plagued us for generations." Nova tugged on her father's sleeve, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Dad, what are they talking about?" Aaron exchanged a glance with Daphne before answering carefully. "The Guardians are sharing some of their advanced knowledge with us, Nova. It's helping both humans and Tok-Tok become healthier." As they continued their walk, they passed another group engaged in a heated debate. Senator Marcus Graves, his face flushed with barely suppressed anger, argued with a Tok-Tok dignitary. "This technology should be implemented on Earth immediately," Graves insisted. "We can't afford to fall behind in this race." The Tok-Tok diplomat's appendages waved in agitation. "And what of my people? We have equal claim to these advancements." Nova's skin pulsed with a soft light as she picked up on the heightened emotions. Daphne quickly steered her away from the argument. Later that evening, as Nova slept peacefully in her quarters, Aaron and Daphne met with Dr. Vex in her lab. The scientist's usual enthusiasm was tempered by a look of concern. "I've made a rather significant discovery regarding Nova's physiology," Dr. Vex began, calling up a series of complex genetic maps on her screen. "It appears that her adaptive DNA allows her to unconsciously absorb beneficial traits from other species simply by being in their presence." Aaron leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "What exactly does that mean, Doctor?" Dr. Vex pulled up an image of Nova's most recent medical scan. "Look here," she pointed to several spots on Nova's skin. "These bioluminescent patches developed after her interaction with the Aquari delegation last week. She's literally incorporating their traits into her own genetic structure." Daphne gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Is it dangerous? Could it hurt her?" "From what I can tell, no," Dr. Vex assured them. "In fact, it seems to be enhancing her overall health and abilities. But the implications of this discovery are, well, they're staggering." As they discussed the potential ramifications of this new development, none of them noticed the small drone hovering outside the lab's window, its camera focused intently on their conversation. Miles away, in a hidden bunker deep beneath the surface of Zeta 9, Senator Graves reviewed the footage with a group of grim-faced individuals. Gentlemen, he addressed the assembled human extremists, what we've just learned changes everything. Nova isn't just a bridge between species, she's the key to human genetic supremacy. We must act now before it's too late. As Graves outlined his plan to kidnap Nova, similar conversations were taking place in hidden locations across the galaxy. On the Tak homeworld, Voxara, a charismatic energy manipulation purist, rallied her followers. Our very identity is at stake, she declared, her body pulsing with patterns of light that conveyed her passion. We must isolate ourselves from this genetic contamination and preserve our pure Tak heritage. Back on Zeta 9, Nova stirred in her sleep, her dreams filled with visions of unity and conflict. As the first rays of the system's twin suns peeked over the horizon, tension continued to build throughout the complex. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of galactic civilization. As the first rays of the system's twin suns peeked over the horizon, tension continued to build throughout the complex. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of galactic society. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Interspecies Council complex, shattering the early morning calm. Aaron and Daphne jolted awake, their hearts racing as they realized the gravity of the situation. Without hesitation, they sprang into action, their diplomatic training kicking in alongside their parental instincts. "Nova!" Daphne called out, rushing to their daughter's room. She found Nova already awake, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. Aaron joined them, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to move now. Remember the emergency protocols we practiced?" Nova nodded, her skin pulsing with a soft, anxious light. As they hurried through the corridors, the sounds of battle echoed around them. Explosions rocked the building, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of human extremists, their faces contorted with fanatical drive. Aaron reacted instantly, pushing Nova and Daphne behind him as he engaged the attackers. "Go!" he shouted, ducking under a wild swing and countering with a swift jab to his assailant's solar plexus. "Get to the safe room." Daphne hesitated for a split second before grabbing Nova's hand and sprinting down the hallway. They weaved through the chaos, narrowly avoiding energy blasts and falling debris. As they approached the hidden entrance to the safe room, a Tak rebel leaped out from behind a collapsed pillar, its appendages crackling with energy. Daphne pushed Nova behind her, preparing to face the threat. Suddenly, Nova's eyes flashed with an intense light. A small, swirling vortex appeared between them and the attacker, sucking in the energy blast meant for Daphne. The Tak rebels stumbled back in shock, giving them the opening they needed. Daphne wasted no time. She quickly input the access code, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden chamber. They rushed inside just as Aaron caught up with them, sporting a few bruises but otherwise unharmed. The door sealed shut behind them, enveloping them in a cocoon of Guardian technology. A soft, pulsing energy field shimmered into existence, rendering them invisible to the chaos outside. Nova's eyes were wide with amazement. "Mom! Dad, did you see what I did? I made a tiny whole thing." Aaron and Daphne exchanged worried glances. "We saw, sweetheart," Daphne said softly. "That was very brave of you." Before they could discuss Nova's new ability further, the child's skin began to glow more intensely. Her eyes rolled back, and she let out a small gasp. Suddenly, the air in front of them shimmered, coalescing into a three-dimensional map of the entire complex. Aaron leaned in, his eyes narrowing as he studied the holographic display. "This is incredible. I can see everyone's positions, both our people and the attackers." Daphne quickly activated the room's communication system. "Security Command, this is Daphne Reeves. We have a full tactical display of the situation. Patching you in now." Outside the safe room, chaos reigned. Commander Sarah Hawkins, her face streaked with sweat and grime, barked orders to her human troops as they pushed back against a group of extremists. "Delta Team, flank left. We need to secure that junction." Beside her, Tak War Chief Zorlak coordinated his own forces, his appendages flashing with patterns of light that conveyed complex battle strategies. Despite their initial wariness, the two leaders found themselves working in perfect synchronization. "Human Commander," Zorlak chittered, My scouts report a large group of rebels converging on the main control center. Hawkins nodded grimly. Acknowledged. Let's move out together. We need to stop them before they can override the security systems. As they fought their way through the complex, the unexpected tactical data from Nova's projection gave them a crucial advantage. They anticipated ambushes, outflanked enemy positions, and steadily gained ground against the attackers. In the main control center, Senator Marcus Graves stood before a bank of holographic displays, his fingers dancing over the controls as he attempted to bypass the security protocols. A manic gleam shone in his eyes as he muttered to himself, "Just a few more minutes and I'll have control of the entire complex. Nova will be ours, and humanity will finally claim its rightful place in the galaxy." The doors to the control center burst open, and Ambassador Chen strode in, her normally calm demeanor replaced by a fierce commitment. "It's over, Marcus," she declared, settling into a fighting stance. "Step away from the controls." Graves sneered, drawing a compact energy pistol from his jacket. "I don't think so, Chen. You're too late to stop us." Chen moved with surprising speed, closing the distance between them before Graves could fire. She knocked the weapon from his hand with a precise strike, then followed up with a flurry of punches and kicks that drove the senator back. Graves, his political career having apparently prepared him for more than just verbal sparring, managed to block several of Chen's attacks. He countered with a vicious elbow strike that caught the ambassador on the chin, sending her stumbling backward. "You're full of surprises, Chen," Graves panted, wiping blood from his split lip. "But it won't be enough." Chen regained her footing, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "You have no idea, Marcus." As their battle raged on, alarms blared throughout the complex. In the power core chamber, Voxara and her Tok-Tok purists worked feverishly to sabotage the Guardian-provided technology. "Quickly," Voxara urged, her body pulsing with patterns of urgency. "We must sever the connection before—" Her words were cut short as the chamber doors exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris stepped Emperor Zaxthor, his regal bearing unmarred by the chaos around him. "Voxara," the Emperor's voice boomed, "your actions threaten everything we've worked for. Stand down or face the consequences." The rebel leader's appendages flashed defiantly. "Never! We will not allow our species to be polluted by alien influence." Zaxthor's eyes narrowed, and the air around him began to crackle with energy. "So be it." The Emperor raised his arms, and bolts of pure energy lanced out, striking Voxara's followers with pinpoint accuracy. The rebels fell, their bodies twitching from the non-lethal but incapacitating blast. Voxara, realizing she was outmatched, made a desperate lunge for the main power coupling. Zaxthor's next attack caught her square in the chest, sending her flying back against the far wall. She slumped to the ground, unconscious. As the Emperor secured the power core, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Long-range sensors, still functioning despite the attack, detected a massive fleet of unknown origin approaching the galaxy's outer rim. In the safe room, Nova's projection flickered, expanding to show this new development. Aaron and Daphne watched in awe and trepidation as the child's ability continued to evolve, providing them with information that could very well determine the fate of their fragile interspecies alliance. As the immediate threat within the complex began to subside, the true scale of the challenge facing them became clear. The Interspecies Council would need to act quickly to address this new, potentially catastrophic threat approaching from the depths of space. Space. The holographic display flickered and expanded, revealing a vast armada of ships approaching from the outer reaches of the galaxy. The sight sent a chill through the room as the implications of this new threat became clear. "We need to evacuate immediately," Aaron said, his voice tight with urgency. "This facility is no longer secure." Daphne nodded, already gathering Nova in her arms. "Where do we go?" Before Aaron could respond, the room's communications system crackled to life. Ambassador Chen's voice came through, calm but intense. "Aaron, Daphne, we're initiating Emergency Protocol Omega. Prepare for immediate relocation to the fortified command center in Zeta 9's core." Within moments, a shimmering portal opened in the center of the safe room. Aaron ushered his family through, and they emerged in a vast, high-tech chamber deep beneath the planet's surface. The walls were lined with advanced Guardian technology, holographic displays filling the air with streams of data from across multiple star systems. As they oriented themselves, Nova's eyes widened with wonder. Her skin pulsed with a soft blue light, and suddenly, a massive energy field sprang into existence around her. Aaron and Daphne watched in amazement as the field expanded, growing to encompass the entire room. "Nova, sweetie, what are you doing?" Daphne asked, her voice a mixture of awe and concern. Nova's brow furrowed in concentration. "Protecting us, Mom. I can feel everything. The planet, the people, even the ships coming towards us." Aaron exchanged a glance with Daphne, realizing the implications of their daughter's rapidly evolving abilities. He turned to a nearby console, quickly establishing a link with the Interspecies Council. "This is Aaron Reeves," he announced. "Nova has developed the ability to generate large-scale force fields. We need to incorporate this into our defensive strategy immediately." The response was swift. Within hours, Nova had created a massive energy barrier encompassing Zeta 9, Earth, and the Tok homeworld. The strain was evident on her young face, but she remained determined, drawing strength from her parents' support. As the unknown fleet drew closer, long-range scans revealed a shocking discovery. The ships bore the unmistakable design of Guardian technology, but far more advanced than anything they had encountered before. The revelation sent ripples of confusion and fear through the assembled council members. Zephyr, the Guardian representative, appeared visibly shaken. His normally composed demeanor cracked as he addressed the council. "Those ships, they belong to a faction we call the Shapers. They believe in direct intervention in the affairs of younger races, seeking to accelerate evolution through forced genetic modification." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, each species reacting to this news with varying degrees of alarm and outrage. Ambassador Chen raised her hand, calling for silence. "We need more information," she said firmly. "Zephyr, establish communication with the Shaper fleet." As Zephyr worked to make contact, Dr. Alara Vex burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement. "I've made a breakthrough in my research on Nova's DNA," she announced. "There are safeguards built into her genetic structure that prevent her abilities from being forcibly replicated or abused. Her powers can only be shared willingly." Before anyone could fully process this information, a holographic image materialized in the center of the room. A tall, imposing figure stood before them, radiating power and authority. "I am Kronos, leader of the Shaper fleet," the figure announced, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "We have come to claim the child known as Nova. Her unique genetic makeup is essential to our plans for galactic unification. Surrender her within 24 hours, or face the consequences." The ultimatum hung in the air, casting a pall over the assembled leaders. Arguments broke out immediately, with some advocating compliance to avoid conflict, while others insisted on protecting Nova at all costs. Amidst the chaos, Nova stepped forward, her eyes glowing with an inner light. "I want to talk to him," she said, her voice calm and clear. Before anyone could stop her, Nova established a direct psychic link with Kronos. The room fell silent as they watched the child's face, seeing a range of emotions play across it as she communed with the Shaper leader. After several tense minutes, Nova opened her eyes. "He's not evil," she said softly. "He wants to help, but he's going about it the wrong way." Ambassador Chen and Emperor Zaxthor exchanged glances, a plan forming between them. Chen stepped forward, addressing the council. "We propose using Nova's abilities to create a temporary psychic network, linking representatives from all species in the galaxy, including the Shapers. This could eliminate the need for forced unification by allowing instantaneous communication and understanding between cultures." As preparations for this unprecedented event began, the Shaper fleet entered the solar system. Nova's force field held strong, but the strain on her became evident. Her small frame trembled with the effort of maintaining the massive energy shield while simultaneously preparing for the psychic linking. Aaron and Daphne watched their daughter with growing concern. They approached Dr. Vex, their faces set with perseverance. "Is there anything we can do to help Nova?" Aaron asked, his voice tight with worry. Dr. Vex hesitated, then nodded slowly. There is an experimental procedure that could temporarily link your life forces to Nova's, providing her with additional energy and stability. But I must warn you, it's risky. It could permanently alter your own genetic structure. Daphne gripped Aaron's hand tightly. We'll do it, she said without hesitation. Whatever it takes to protect our daughter and preserve peace. As the 24-hour deadline approached, tensions reached a fever pitch. The combined fleets of Earth, the Tok, and the Loyal Guardians took up defensive positions around Zeta 9. In the heart of the command center, Nova stood at the center of a complex array of Guardian technology. Her parents on either side, their hands clasped tightly around hers. Dr. Vex initiated the procedure, and Aaron and Daphne gasped as they felt their life force merging with Nova's. Energy coursed through them, and for a moment they could sense the vastness of the galaxy through their daughter's perception. Nova took a deep breath, her eyes glowing with newfound power. She reached out with her mind, preparing to initiate the galaxy-wide psychic link that would determine the fate of multiple civilizations. As billions of minds across the galaxy waited in anticipation, Nova activated the psychic network. A wave of energy pulsed outward from Zeta 9, crossing the vast distances of space in an instant. For a moment, the entire galaxy held its breath, poised on the brink of a new era of understanding, or the precipice of devastating conflict. Conflict, or the precipice of devastating war. Nova's eyes flashed with an intense, otherworldly light as the psychic network activated. A wave of energy pulsed outward from her small form, crossing vast stretches of space in an instant. The command center fell silent, all eyes fixed on the child as she became the nexus of a galactic consciousness. Aaron and Daphne, still connected to Nova through Dr. Vex's experimental procedure, gasped as they felt the full weight of their daughter's burden. Energy coursed through their bodies, and for a moment they sensed the vastness of the galaxy through Nova's perception. Billions of minds across countless worlds suddenly found themselves linked, sharing thoughts, emotions, and experiences. The collective consciousness washed over every connected being, bringing with it a profound sense of unity and understanding. Kronos, the imposing Shaper leader, felt the impact of the psychic link most keenly. His mind, once set on the path of forced evolution, now experienced a moment of startling clarity. He saw the beauty in natural diversity, the strength in allowing species to develop at their own pace. In that instant, his entire worldview shifted. "Stand down," Kronos commanded his fleet, his voice resonating through the psychic network. "I request an immediate face-to-face meeting with the Interspecies Council." The tension in the command center eased slightly, but concern quickly returned as Nova's body began to glow with an otherworldly radiance. The strain of maintaining the galaxy-wide connection was taking its toll. Dr. Vex monitored the vital signs of Nova and her parents. Her face creased with worry. "We need to disconnect them soon," she warned. "Prolonging this link could result in irreversible genetic changes, or even death for all three." Aaron, sensing the danger through his connection with Nova, made a desperate decision. He reached out through the psychic network, his thoughts carrying to every corner of the galaxy. "Please," he projected, his mental voice tinged with urgency and love, "help us save our daughter." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Billions of minds across the galaxy answered his call, willingly sharing their energy to support Nova. A massive influx of power surged through the network, stabilizing the connection and allowing Nova to safely disconnect. As the psychic link dissipated, Aaron, Daphne, and Nova collapsed to the floor, their bodies still glowing faintly. Dr. Vex and her team rushed forward, quickly moving the family to an advanced medical bay. Hours passed as the council prepared for Kronos' arrival, and Dr. Vex worked tirelessly to stabilize her patients. When Aaron finally opened his eyes, he found himself on a medical bed, surrounded by blinking monitors and concerned faces. "Daphne? Nova?" he croaked, his throat dry. Dr. Vex stepped into view, her expression a mixture of amazement and apprehension. "They're stable, but—" "Aaron, you need to prepare yourself. All three of you have undergone significant genetic changes." Aaron sat up slowly, noticing an odd tingling sensation throughout his body. He looked down at his hands, surprised to see faint patterns of light moving beneath his skin. "What's happened to us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Vex activated a holographic display showing a complex DNA strand. "Your genetic structure has incorporated elements from various species across the galaxy. You've become living embodiments of unity and diversity." Before Aaron could fully process this information, the medical bay doors slid open. Ambassador Chen entered, her usual composure slightly shaken. "Aaron, I'm glad to see you're awake," she said. "Kronos and a delegation of Shapers have arrived. The Council is proposing a new galactic charter, and we need your family's input." Aaron nodded, still trying to come to terms with his new reality. "We'll be there as soon as Daphne and Nova are ready." As if on cue, Daphne stirred in the adjacent bed. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that now shimmered with an array of colors. Nova, occupying the bed on Aaron's other side, sat up with a gasp, her appearance noticeably altered. She looked closer to a young teenager than the child she had been mere hours ago. "Mom? Dad?" Nova's voice carried a new resonance, filled with wisdom beyond her years. "I can feel everything. Everyone." Aaron reached out, taking Daphne's hand in one of his, and Nova's in the other. As their skin made contact, a surge of energy passed between them, and suddenly they could sense each other's thoughts and emotions with perfect clarity. "We're okay, sweetie," Daphne reassured Nova, her voice steady despite the shock of their transformation. "We're still us, just more." Aaron met his wife's gaze, seeing in her eyes the same mix of wonder and tenacity he felt. "Together," he said simply. Nova nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Together," she agreed. As one, the family rose from their beds, their bodies adapting to their new hybrid state with surprising ease. They found they could instinctively communicate with all species and manipulate energy in ways that defied previous understanding of physics. With Dr. Vex and Ambassador Chen leading the way, Aaron, Daphne, and Nova made their way to the council chambers. They could feel the weight of destiny upon them, knowing that their actions in the coming hours would shape the future of the galaxy. The doors to the council chamber slid open, revealing a diverse gathering of species. At the center stood Kronos, his imposing figure now radiating an aura of calm rather than threat. All eyes turned to the newly transformed family as they entered, a hush falling over the assembled delegates. Aaron took a deep breath, feeling the combined strength of his wife and daughter flowing through him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as a family, but as a symbol of unity for all sentient beings.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.